Well, that's the problem.
Oh. Welcome to This Week in X, presented by Crushing Comics for X-Men number 20. This issue is out on the 26th of May. We're going to get into every possible detail of it, so it's going to be full of spoilers, and we hope you're ready because we are going to dig deeply. X-Men 20, as we always do, we're going to start with a brief initial reaction before we get into the themes and details of this issue. Starting with Tyler, what did you think?
I know I said I like dance issues last week, but I kind of also enjoy books that are well written and goes somewhere, even though in this case it takes its time to get there. But there is a major plot fallacy here, which we'll get into later on, which kind of like dock off some points. I like it, and the ending gave me chills. I do appreciate the consistencies of Ghost's color though. So it makes it like feels really familiar with the issues that this is connected to. I give it a 4 duplicates out of 5.
Harry.
This thing's a drag, man. It's a weird book to read because there's stuff that's ostensibly interesting and it's moving us to something I'm really excited for. But I feel like a lot of these Hickman issues have been, oh man, this is going to lead somewhere great. But the actual issue we had just read was just kind of there. This things definitely happened in this, but it's still kind of lacking any kind of punch or excitement. And I am speaking as a major Hickman fan. I like this guy's sensibilities and his style, but like after last issue, which was so great and one of the best things that has been in this entire run of comics, like getting back to this level of just like lukewarm milk, it's getting really frustrating. And there's definitely some other, and it positions characters in this series as particularly monstrous, which we'll get into, and it's just not that that's a bad thing, but it's just it's really, I don't have a lot of emotion about it, which is really disappointing because this has been a lot of build up to this moment, and it just feels like we're getting more build up. And yeah, so I'm gonna give it a 2.5.
Fariha.
So I'm a whore for Mystique. That's a well-known fact.
That's a great cover.
That cover is so brilliant. It's
ridiculous.
For people listening and not watching, it's Mystique on the photocopier by Del Mundo, and every face that comes out of the photocopier is a different face. So brilliant.
Yes, it's like including a sloth, which
From
is
Zootopia.
which is just makes it the best thing ever. So as a whore for Mystique, I absolutely love this issue, but I also didn't love that some of the stuff with the racist people, that why I should be caring about it. And then also there are certain, like the idea of like words matter, like that was actually, like I finally understood what that means, because there is some usage of words in this that took my breath away. And then at the end, when the final reveal happened, I'm like, I knew it. Like I have receipt. Like I have sent that to the messenger to you guys. I'm like, I'm 100% sure. And then it happened. I was like so happy. Moments like that don't come in my life very often. So I am just all about it. So I loved it for a lot of things. I didn't quite care about a couple of things that I wish was not in here, but overall, I'm super excited to see where it goes.
I thought it was really clumsy. I think that for an issue that was about Mystique, which the entirety of X fandom seems to have been craving ever since the setup in issue number 6, it has very surprisingly little interior life for Mystique, nor does she ever really kind of sound like herself. She seems really, I don't know, kind of unsure in a way. And I think that that's fine given what the stakes are, but it didn't really hit for me. And then Mobley, I'm sorry, I don't want to be mean about any artist, but he doesn't know how to draw Mystique. I don't think any panel of Mystique looks right. The foreshortening is wrong. The size of her body is wrong. She frequently lacks a neck. So I think if you're going to have a feature issue of a character that we've all been craving a feature issue on, and it's going to set up future stuff, and you have the voice wrong and you don't draw her right, then you kind of failed, which is a shame because there's so much good thematic stuff in this that I actually found very appealing in a way that I haven't earlier in the run. But I've reread it a few times now, and I cannot get past how clumsy the execution is. So it's always fun when we have varying opinions.
I just,
So
I
want
hate being the wet blanket, man. I want to be psyched.
I'm a damp blanket, at least, at minimum. So look, I think for this one, we've got to talk about a thematic element first, because if we don't, we're going to just talk about the thematic element in every section.
Yeah.
So here's the thematic element. Mystique is separated from her lover, and they think if that lover is brought back, it's going to put an end to this fragile utopia. Who knows if that's right or not? We're not here to debate that quite yet. Then, to regain that lover, she has to commit violence to separate someone else from her lover. And that will also end a fragile sense of utopia, because that person has just brought their lover back. Now, yeah, they're horrible and racist, but there's absolutely a sense of mirroring happening here between Mystique and the scientist. And what's really interesting is it creates sort of a feedback loop, because we end on this question of, is it Mystique and Mystique's failure in this issue that actually births the Nimrod that we have known about throughout the whole history of X-Men? So before we get into any specifics of the then, the now, the Orcus Forge, I just want to take a moment and see if anybody has thoughts on that thematic mirroring of the two women here. Starting with Harry, I guess, because Harry seems like he's really reacting. And then we'll go to Tyler and then Fariha.
Yeah, I picked up on that during the book. It's just like an interesting thing where, this book is, ostensibly, I gotta stop using that. This book's villains are racist and bad, but there is a genuine emotion and love that this one person has for her late husband, and how that is lost during this. And it's an interesting contrast with Krakoa and Xavier Magneto, who are basically, prohibiting that kind of love to flourish on their island. And it, there's always, you can make the case that it definitely points to, like, in this reading, Krakoa is this hedonistic place without love and what have you. And this is like a hollow kind of island in that sense, or, that kind of thing. I like that part of it.
Tyler, thoughts on the thematic aspect?
I like the fact that this is about two lovers who are both so close to getting their partner back, and just couldn't do it. Couldn't make it, either through interference or through in some ways, I think Mystique is never getting Destiny back, even if she succeeds. I think that's the way I read it. But I like that part of it. I also related to it. I also like the fact that it is the mutants' interference that made certain things happen. And this is
you
not
can't
the first
control
time.
the future.
And this is the second time in 2 issues that it's like the folly of Professor Xavier going on a mission ends up creating the thing they were worried about. With last issue, when they used Darwin to break through their research for the children.
Oh, such a good point, Harry.
Children of the Vault.
Yeah.
So
Children of the Vault, sorry, yeah.
So there's Nimrod, there's Children of the Vault. There is Beast meddling with Terra Verde. There is the Smiley AI, which was stopped short, even though they are friendly. And then there's the new reverse, like scattered, caused by all the kill no humans law, and you left them main. So basically, there are many things here throughout the whole Dawn and Reign of X that either Xavier or Eric or the Krakoan has interfered and possibly made things worse.
You're seeing all of these like things getting put into motion because they're trying to prevent them, and that's just like such a classic time travel sort of story. Yeah. So, but it's kind of understated, which I do appreciate, but it's definitely happening.
Fariha, talk to us, if you care to, about this thematic element, these mirrored women and their lost lovers.
Well, first of all, I don't give about the racist people and their loves and their loss and stuff like that, because that to me is like, yay, lose everything. I don't care. I really don't want to humanize them. That's totally fair. Like, I don't care about that. But to me, I am just more in love with the idea that all the people that people or forces that Tyler listed are all because mutants meddling, and
Yeah.
then that's how they're coming up, and
Yeah.
that is like a good threat for them to have. That is like it's worthy of them. It's like it's not just stupid politicians, like, you know, mouth foaming, or like, you know, hanging out like racist, like stupid racist human hanging out with their board. It's a threat. It's like, you know, and I have a feeling that in most cases, from what I've seen, that the main people ended up being mutants. I have a feeling that blind guy is probably a mutant too. Like, you know, because,
Interesting. Devo?
you know,
Devo?
Devil.
like, yeah, like, you know,
Devo.
it's like, because it's always kind of ends up being that way. So I'm mostly interested about that aspect of it. However, one thing I did wanted to kind of talk about is that, you know, we talked about it before, that suffering of women, and then how that is kind of like a thing in like fiction,
A currency,
you know,
in your words.
Yeah.
yeah, it is an economy. It's like an economic of women suffering, and then how you get money out of it by selling those stories, right? And this is kind of that. This is a peak, like there is a women suffering. Then there is also the trope of bury your gays, you know, because
Yeah.
there is like, everyone's keep coming back, but then there is a gay couple that are struggling with it. So I was kind of thinking about it, like, since I read this issue yesterday, it's like, okay, so why is that not bothering me as much? You know, why is this aspect of it is not bothering me as much? But then I kind of came to this like, you know, this thought that it's because potentially for the first time, the struggle of the women or stuff, like, you know, struggle of these women, or whether there's like gay relationship or whatever, it's to do with a bigger than them. It's like a bigger, it's like a in country, like it's like a how to build a society, or how to build a country, like, you know, something that we don't see happen to women. Like, you know, women in stories.
Yeah, they're an actual linchpin for once.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's not just this thing to create this manipulative suffering currency to make us feel bad. It's actually part of the whole structure.
Exactly. Like, it just feels like they're the one who's driving it. They're the ones who, like, you know, like Moira's in the background sitting there with some interesting books, bedtime.
We're not there yet. Not yet.
Yeah, we're not there yet. But, you know, so she's the one who's kind of driving it. And then Mystique is like, she's not like some, like, oh my God, I'm helpless. That's not who she is. But then she's still kind of going through the motion of it, because it's politics, it's a country, it's shaping off a kingdom, country, however way you say it. And I feel like I don't think I've seen women in that role. Like, you know, I mean, it's never been that way. I don't know. Maybe I wanted to hear what you guys think about it.
The last time we discussed this, I remember that you said something about the litmus test, right? So will this still work if you replace the gay couple by a straight couple? The answer is yes. Will this still work if you replace Mystique by a male character? It will still work. And therefore, this is not, by your definition, a currency of women's suffering.
And I'm thinking, and that's exactly what I was going with, because it's like, I've never seen women in these kind of role, and that's what they are doing, and I actually almost forgot that they're women, which, you know what I mean? Like, you know,
which is your point, which is exactly the point that you were trying to make the first time, as in, like, yes, in this case, it happens to be a gay couple who are and female, but it doesn't have to be, and I forgot that it is a female and a gay couple in that sense.
Right, which is not to say that we don't want, I think it's important to kind of make a decision, which I know that we're making, but I want to make it clear that we're not saying that a woman shouldn't have anything distinct to her identity as a woman in the story. We're saying that there should be no threats to her that feel like they could only ever be threatened at her because she's a woman. Like, is she being pulled by her hair and dragged around? No. Is her sexual agency being threatened? No. Are they threatening to take away her ability to be a mother? No. She's being treated like another character, and she's still uniquely a woman who's in love, who has a mission. And please correct me if I'm wrong, Fariha, but I know that we talk about this a lot, and I feel like that's the distinction.
Right. And then I was kind of like, and that I think something that I was obsessing with throughout this, because I'm like, yes.
In X-Men 6, the resurrection of Destiny was with help from Mystique. And in this case, it is more of a tragedy, because Mystique failed in her mission to get Destiny back, assuming assuming Eric and Xavier is going to keep their words.
Right.
They're
And
not.
the thing is, and this is something that I was like, ooh, this is how you create a terrorist. Like
on many
this
levels.
is- like on
Mystique
many
is a terrorist, Dr.
levels.
Gregor as a terrorist, Nimrod as a terrorist.
Like,
I
this
Created
is
a lot of
how-
terrorists.
Yeah, this
Where-
is how you do
yeah.
it. Because the thing is, first time they were like, oh, yeah, this is a carrot in the stick. This time they put it on her. Like, it was your fault. And that is how you create. Like, I was like,
Well, I want to
Wow.
respond to
Yeah.
basically one thing from each of you, and don't bite your nice variant cover.
No,
comment, Fariha.
Don't eat it. Don't eat it. Don't eat it. That's expensive.
and then I want to move us forward necessarily because there's 4 other sections which I'll detail in a second. So I want to kind of work backwards. Something that Fariha said, like, oh, well, they're the racist bigots. I don't care about them. I think you gotta, as a critical reader, I glaze on stuff about characters who I think are assholes all the time, but and I'm not saying Fariha did this. This is like kind of my message to everybody. You can't let that distract you from seeing the thematic stuff in the work. I absolutely want them all to get sucked into a black hole. Screw them all. Screw Orcus. Screw their love story. Screw everything. But absolutely, she was being paralleled with Mystique. So as much as I personally tend to want to glaze on the Orcus stuff, sometimes when characters are doing immoral, questionable things and you want to hate that character, if you want to be a critical reader, you've still got to tune in so that you can understand how they fit into thematic things, which is kind of our whole thesis in Crushing Comics. And I'm not saying that Fariha didn't, but I just want to be careful because there's always this line between the character did something immoral, so now I don't care about the character, and still being able to understand the character's significance to the story. They still have significance in the story. We just don't give a shit what their fate is, right?
And that's exactly what I was saying. Because the thing is, I have read way too many World War II stories, like way too many. So I have learned not to care about races. Like, I don't care like about like Nazis, that their love stories and everything. You are still a Nazi. Like, you're still like,
when people are like, oh, it made me feel something for that Nazi, I'm like, really? But then when people are like, oh, I see how the feeling I was supposed to have about the Nazi parallels my feeling I was supposed to have about this other character. I'm like, that, it's
and
like
it makes the
kombucha girl, meme. It's like, when I it's 2 verses. Okay.
It makes the conflict more interesting, just on like on a primal level.
So then the second thing I want to go to, I forget which one of these was Harry's. This one was Tyler's, I think, which is that interventionism creates more problems, right? Like we started with this idea that Krakoa was going to be sacrosanct. It was going to be a bubble. They were going to do their thing. But actually Krakoa is more interventionist than X-Men perhaps has ever been in their history. This is an X-Force X-Men. I mean, I remember when Professor Xavier was the open hand and Magneto and Cable were the closed fist, or all that stuff. Yeah. And like it's all closed fist now. Everybody wants to strike with every hand. But when you intervene, you create your own kind of future problems. And I think way, way, way to Hickman's credit to make this not only something that's happening in X-Men, but it's coordinated against the entire line. And Tyler gave an amazing list, I think better than I've heard anybody else sum it up recently. And then finally, to something Harry said, it's kind of like, this also goes to the creating terrorist thing. It's kind of like oppression follows. Like not everybody who's oppressed is going to oppress someone else. That's like a fallacy. It's like saying abusers always, were abused. That's not always true. Some abusers are just terrible, terrible people.
Assholes.
But there's definitely a little bit of a thematic thing here about how kind of like each oppressed person oppresses someone else, deserve it or not. Like Orcus isn't really going through oppression. Orcus is a bunch of bigots who needs to be wiped off of space. But basically, Xavier and Magneto are withholding something from Mystique so that she'll go and withhold somebody from somebody else. So they will it's a domino chain. And I think that that's something interesting thematic too. So look, there's 4 sections of this issue. There's then, there's now, there's the Orcus Forge, and then there is the final page and the teaser, which I'm just going to make you all wait in anticipation until we get there. So the council has given Mystique basically carte blanche on how to complete her mission to destroy Nimrod. Let's not forget, she's a council member. And she goes to Forge with a very inspecific request to make the worst weapon he can make. We're just going to go around one time on this. Tyler, any thoughts on this scene?
I mean, the first thing that I thought about is not really so much Forge creating something, to destroy something, is really the relationship between Forge and Mystique.
Right.
Because they have some history.
Yeah.
Like, I mean...
Tell me.
Well, Destiny was the first one who told Forge that they will be together And that was all the way back in Uncanny X-Men 255, right before she was killed by.
Yeah, right before Moira murdered her with Legion.
Yeah.
So
that's the thing.
That happened.
I was going to say Legion killed her until Peter's
No.
Legion was a murder weapon, okay?
Yeah.
We're about to find out for sure.
And then after that, when Forge proposed to Aurora, and and the whole messy thing, Forge basically took Mystique away when she was crazy back in Uncanny X-Men 290.
Yeah, 290.
Yeah. And I think somewhere down the line when Claremont came back, Forge was also Mystique support tech when she was part of Xavier's underground agents or something, some undercover mutant agents.
And did they have a romance late in X Factor? I kind of remember that, but I'm not sure if it's my imagination or not.
No, definitely at one point, definitely Forge loves Mystique, and and basically the thread running through usually is that destiny was right.
Harry, anything about the then scene?
It was interesting shading and kind of setup of just these kind of more pragmatic characters who have been in different places, just kind of commiserating and kind of seeing each other on a more kind of relatable level. They definitely feel like two characters of a type in that sense, even though I don't know the history as well as y'all do.
Oh, sorry. One more thing is that when Forge talked about the gun that took away, the weapon that took away powers, that was the gun that he used to took away Storm's power.
Although it was meant to take away Mystique's daughter's power, Rogue.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of connections.
There's a lot of connection going there.
Fariha?
So the thing is, isn't Forge the one who was first time trying to revive Nimrod? Back in before Second Coming, around that time, Messiah War?
I don't recall.
When it was
You're the one who just read it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Was it Forge? It was Forge because New Mutant went to him and he was the one who was tinkering with the Nimrod and then they turned it back on. That's what,
no,
so I was.
Was it him or was it the pastor?
No, pastor got it later because the Nimrod left. Yeah, okay. It was there was an aspect. So that's one of the reasons I thought that Taylor will bring the receipt. Why am I bringing the receipt?
I forgot because you're a receipt lady now. You've read
you made it.
Your receipt in the 2000s. I'm pre-2000s.
Yeah. Then in that case, I'll have to go back and read it because I thought that that's one of the reasons that the Forge, all the when she says Orcus, it's Orcus, how do you say it? It was his regret about tinkering with Nimrod thing. Because there was a Nimrod from the future that came and he was tinkering it, and I think he kind of got it to turn it on. And I think that, so I thought that a lot of that was giving a shade to that. Now I have to go back and people in the comments, please let us know if we're correct on that or not.
Please.
So something that really stuck out for me here, a few things. One is that Hickman loves writing characters like Forge, and this little monologue that he gives Forge about tools, and the stick is ambiguous, right? The stick can be a weapon, or it could be a tool, or you could turn it into something else. And I love this take that Hickman has on Forge, which is he's not the first one to ever think about it this way, but it's a good take nonetheless, which is that when Forge creates something, it's distinct. Whether it's a weapon or a tool, it's not meant to be an ingredient in somebody else's cake. It has a use, it's specific, and it's optimized. And I'm like, well, Hickman loves writing these sciencey inventory characters. And, I think that this is a really steely take on Forge when he's been played a little bit more for comedy in X-Force. So I appreciate that. However, this Mystique, I was very confused about. She's one of the most practiced terrorists in the history of X-Men. She's one of the leaders of the mutant race. She comes to Forge and she's asking these ambiguous questions about weapons, and she's like, oh, you have so many guns on the wall. In a way, it kind of felt like an act. A lot of Mystique's actions in this issue didn't seem fully genuine to me, and I don't know if I'm doing that thing that so many X-Men fans have been doing recently where they're like, well, they're not the real character because they're not acting the way that I like, or maybe Hickman's just a terrible writer. I mean, that's been proven to me again and again over the years. I don't know, but it's not Mystique. Like Mystique would walk in and be like, I've already researched the schematics of this station. I'm thinking this, or that, but you're the inventor. And Forge could have probably still said the same monologue to be like, well, you're talking about sticks. I'm talking about a weapon with a specific purpose. So even as I went back and reread it and read it again, it's just the writing Mystique was just really puzzling to me. And also, this is where the art really, right off the bat, I was like, what is going on with this Mystique art? But we don't want to pile on Mobley. And to Sunny Go's credit, great colors here and throughout the issue as well.
So does Mystique typically believe in Destiny's prediction?
Almost to a fault, I would say. I don't know, Tyler, would you agree with that?
Yeah. I mean, they understand, like both Mystique and Destiny understand that what she sees may not be the real future, but the two of them could interpret certain things and they will try to steer it towards that outcome which they think is going to be beneficial to them. And yeah, they often act on it.
So, I mean, I think this will kind of go into the next point as well, because I feel like I was thinking that whether she's getting more and more unsettled by the fact that Destiny's things are all coming true too real. And the thing is, like, she has Mystique has all this one thing where she's like, mutant supremacy and stuff, and this is peak mutant supremacy than she's ever lived. So now she's like, am I doing something just because Destiny said something to me once, and is this the right thing?
Well, I want to move us on to both Now and the Orcus Forge. I don't think we have to do them as separate go-rounds. I just want to introduce them as separate scenes. So the Now is Mystique presenting her plan to Xavier and Magneto. And she seems, is she hesitant? Is she nervous? Xavier calls her out. He says, we have among us other monsters, some who do not lie to themselves about what they are. Only your failure prevents its completion, it being bringing back Destiny. So Mystique goes to the Forge. She impersonates somebody, one of these kind of like AIM-ish scientists that are on hand to view the birth of Nimrod. And Nimrod is born out of this woman, Dr. Gregor's want to bring her husband back. She has his memories in a holographic crystal. She puts them in Nimrod and he's like, oh, now we can't have babies. So I guess there was one little bit of that sort of thing. But it comes from the man for a change and his impotence. But then Mystique tries to blow things up. We realize that Nimrod has infinite replication potential. So he's going to be able to easily chase her down and get rid of the bomb. But in his replication potential, he has to also fracture his holographic memory matrix, which means every splinter he makes, every duplicate he makes, he's less Erasmus than he was initially. And there's 4 duplicates here. And so that creates the erasure of Erasmus. And Mystique's plan fails. So we'll start with Fariha here. What do we think about the Now scene that sets her on this mission and then the execution of her mission or lack thereof?
Right. So the one thing that, I was talking about the words mean something.
Yeah, I've really been waiting to hear what that is.
And it took my breath away. Is like, this is what Magneto tells Mystique, who at some point we're on the same side of the mutant, what to do with the mutant, right? So this is what he says. This isn't servitude, Raven. We made a deal. So he calls her Raven, not Mystique.
Not her mutant.
Her mutant name, which is something. And then anytime you want to end it, you can simply let us know. And that simply let us know that you are not the right tool for the job.
Going back to the Forge scene.
Right tool.
Yeah.
Like, she's a citizen. She's a council.
She's on the council.
She's a council for this new mutant. And then he reduced her to a tool. Like, this is how they see it. At that point, I'm like, North Star was right. Don't tell
I was really wondering if you were going to reassess
Like,
your North Star opinion based on that scene.
To that point, right? I would say that the reaction from Magneto and Xavier is really not so much that is due to the fact that Mystique called them out for plausible deniability.
Oh yeah.
So basically they are not prepared for someone to call them out for their fakeness, and therefore they react like in such a strong way. So I think it
But that's the thing. But that's the thing. That's not a good sign of leaders. Like
No,
that's
it's not.
not a good. And that's another reason. Like a part of me are like, yeah, North Star, don't tell. But then part of me is like, well, what are you doing to remove these people from the council? But
I was gonna
so
say.
that's
Yeah.
that's that. Like there was like two version of it that I was like, ugh, like right tool. So there was that. And then the thing is like the whole thing with the replication, and I'm like, oh yeah, Nimrod. Like we have seen it before. Like and she the fact that she fails, I kind of liked that in a way, because it almost feels like Mystique never fails. Like in her missions, like she always gets what that needs to be done. Especially if it's a mission of destruction, she would always end it. But I feel like one of the first time I've seen where it didn't work. It like she didn't like she didn't think it through. It didn't work for her, and it was a huge implication, because this was the one that she really needed to win.
This is the one.
Harry?
Yeah, so my favorite moment in the book by far is just the 3-panel beat where Nimrod Erasmus comes alive and he's hugging his wife and he's just like, I'm so happy. He's just like, I'm so happy. And also, that's a mutant. Like, that's like a very funny, it's a really good beat. It's super good. I'm just kind of curious though, and maybe I'm not thinking this through, but like they've had a portal for like a while to Orcus. So why did she get here late? Or was she waiting?
She was waiting for the
creation
to
of
create
the bomb.
Yeah, forced to create
the singularity.
Was there a reason that okay? I was just gonna say, like, why did she, like, was there a way to like get here earlier and like stop this in a different way?
She was waiting for it. No, because the thing is, in this happened the next day after issue 6.
So the beginning,
okay, all right, right.
The then follows X-Men 6.
And I also got the sense that might not be the first time she like surreptitiously. Do you think it's the only time she went in? Like, because she doesn't want to explode the bomb too far ahead of him being created as Nimrod, because then she might just have to go and blow something up again, right? In Hoxpox, it's like they blew it up too soon. So I definitely got the sense that like she's maybe dropped in a few times. I don't know how they would have missed the gate all those times. Maybe she destroys the gate and regrows it every time. I don't know, but it didn't really make sense to me that she just happened to go through the gate. And she's like, oh, it's the Nimrod birthing ceremony. I'm here at just the right time.
That's how I took it, that she knew that today's the day. Like that's how she was.
Like get there 30 minutes earlier,
but
man.
that was the plot fallacy.
You're right.
That I mentioned.
Oh, Tyler, talk about it.
Because I feel like if you are going to create a singularity, which is basically a localized black hole, to basically suck the whole Orcus station in, there's no reason why you have to do it in proximity of Nimrod. Why is Mystique in that room?
Well, because it's super localized, though, right? Isn't that the whole point of it?
Yeah, but it's localized to the extent that it will basically suck the entire station in. I think that was mentioned in the plot. I mean, in the words. So my question is that why does it have to be near Nimrod? Okay, well, given that maybe there's a reason why that's the thing. The other plot fallacy is that it has been weeks since she planted or even months, I don't know, but let's say weeks since she planted the gate, and no one actually discovered it.
I thought that the minute she planted it, like just no one's gonna see it, huh?
Yeah.
Well, it's a huge, like I'm telling you, there are certain things in my plan that I don't know how to get there. So I feel like it was like really like in a place where they didn't know.
Yeah, it might have been behind a cabinet facing a wall. You know, you don't know.
She knew Nimrod could detect mutants. Why is she there? Like, why does she have to be like, in the presence, carrying a bag? I mean, she has to carry the bag because that's the bomb. But why is she there? Like, that was my question.
I mean, I don't have a whole lot to say about this. I think it accomplished the thing it needed to accomplish. Mystique had to fail because, or not, because she wasn't going to get Destiny back either way. Nimrod had to be born, and it kind of just was like the pieces were set and the pieces got moved. I don't have critiques of it. I don't think it was bad or good. I just think it kind of like transpired.
Well, that's the problem. Well, I was like, oh man, Nimrod's coming back. I bet this will be good. And the issue's like, yeah, Nimrod's back. All right.
So what do you want them to do?
But this is
the execution is what I'm referring to.
But this is Nimrod coming back because Krakoans interfered. Yes. Like that's the difference.
I think that's good.
Because my assumption is that if Nimrod has the humanity, I mean, that guy's a soldier. I'm not sure if he's a racist.
Yes, he is. Why would he be a soldier for orcas? Okay, I want to get into this for a second. Because part of me, and this is what I mean about like sympathy for characters who are evil characters. Part of me is like, oh, the X-Men took away his humanity. Now Nimrod's going to be a killer robot. It's all their fault. And then like, hold on a second. This guy's already part of a racist eugenicist organization. If he had his humanity, he would just be a worse villain. He would be, like at least Nimrod doesn't have a personality. So I don't know, Tyler. I mean, what's the worst villain? Erasmus as Nimrod or Nimrod as Nimrod?
Nimrod seems pretty cool. He's not like aggressively racist so far as we know.
Only racist in concept.
Yeah. So you never know, because given that he's like a fully just logic, maybe by logic he will come to the conclusion that mutants should be around because they're the next round of evolution.
True. I mean, that's the thing that's the part which I kind of like was.
No, I just have a thing I want to talk about. So I would go first.
Okay, go ahead.
Say it.
No, yeah, that's the whole point. Maybe if it's not that you just like got me there. It's not that the X-Men ruined it for themselves. Nimrod was always going to ruin it for themselves. By creating a Nimrod that's not personable, they're actually making a Nimrod that ultimately is going to maybe decide the humans are disposable too, which is going to create the thing that Mora experienced in Life 6. The chummy, funny, clever Nimrod that we saw in Life 9 might have been the Nimrod with Erasmus, because he's Nimrod with a personality. But the post-human humans are people who decided like none of this matter. Oh.
Yeah.
The post-humans actually used the Nimrods, because I remember the line where they said that Sentinels brought us years, Nimrods brought us decades.
Yeah.
So they are bad. They're still bad.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, okay,
but that's the whole point. Like, they're gonna decide that everything is bad.
I give that. I'll give you the point. I mean, I caught myself.
This week in X
Fariha.
what
I didn't even have
racist
it.
do we want?
Yeah.
No, that's fascinating. I hadn't.
Yeah.
See? This is why I love
tonic.
this man. This is why he's my soulmate, because he makes these things that happen. But the thing is, okay, so can we just go to the last page where it's like that blind man the blind man is just there
Devil
looking at the sun and stuff. So the thing is, I feel like he's a precog
Who is
too.
Devil? Who is Devil? That's my question.
That's the
here
guy with the
on my
eyes,
notes,
right?
No. What I meant is that who is he? Like,
Where did he come from?
He's apparently a new character, but
Space
I
racist.
feel like he may not be a new character. I feel like he might be someone that we are supposed to know, but Hickman have not like revealed his true identity yet.
It's kind of got a Baron Strucker vibe to me, a little bit, personally.
A little bit.
But the thing is, like, he has that. He also has that. He has the
He's
blindness.
blind.
He's blind. That. And then all the precogs are blind in Marvel Universe, or like blindfold, and so that's one of the reasons I'm like, this guy is a precog, and it's probably a mutant, and it's like, and how many? Okay, here's also another thing: Mystique is pretty much Lady Wolverine. She has way too many kids, just spread across the world.
At least
so
what, 3, 4?
Yeah. So
wait, really?
Yes.
Nightcrawler, Graydon Creed.
Yeah.
A child she may or may not have had with Xavier, and a child
that was
in the
erased.
future
that was erased out of the.
It happened at one point, though.
And a child that she has in the future with Wolverine.
Right.
And then she adopted Rogue.
Yeah,
and Rogue.
And Rogue is like her adopted kid. So it's like, this guy probably her child for always. Because remember how Claremont kept on wanting to make Nightcrawler Destiny and her kid, but they wouldn't let him. Let him.
Hickman, come on, Hickman, make it happen for Papa Claremont. Bring it home.
Maybe this one is like, he's like Ariane's kid.
Oh.
Like, it's like that's how he got the power, like Irene and Mystique's kid.
Well, so I want to move us along. First of all, I just want to say, I think that's Mobley's best page in the whole book. The page with the blind guy looking out into the sun, and Sunny Go's best page in the book. Look at the subtlety of the furrowed brow on the Omega Sentinel, and the little glisten on her chin, on her cheek, the little furrow in her chin, and then look at all the lines that Mobley gets into his jowls as he laughs. Like that is good. I don't mean to say that Mobley's a terrible artist. I just think he kind of whiffed a little bit of Mystique. But now
we just need to get used to the characters.
Yeah. So look, we've survived a long discussion. Now we get our dessert. Because after Mystique fails and gets resurrected and they're like, no destiny for you, Charles and Magneto goes to everybody's favorite no place to let Mystique know that to let Mora X know that they're continuing to uphold the no precogs rule. And Mora is hanging out with her legs crossed and her little lab jacket / blazer, reading the multi-volume set of the Diaries of Irene Adler, Destiny.
Never
Fariha,
has a
please
scene.
collect your applause.
The glee.
Never has a scene had more of like kids going to their mom because they broke something, like energy, where it's just like, we screwed up. What's going on? We need help.
Like,
Mom,
yeah,
we
like,
let loose
no.
a killer AI.
And
Yeah.
the fact that Magneto had his helmet in his hand, that made
Respect.
the scene for me. That made the scene for me. Like, he had the helmet in his hand, and that coming from Magneto is like huge for me. And
Yeah.
then she's just sitting there and reading Diary of
Ivan.
Yeah.
Like, that is something.
So what do we feel about this?
Do you think she has every volume?
It looks.
Yeah,
I
she's
don't
got a
know
lot
which
of
one
books
went.
now.
I think
which
she's
one
got a
went-
bookshelf like this bookshelf behind me of Destiny's writings.
No, there's
I think
supposed to
that's
be
been her
only
side
13
mission this
volume.
whole time.
There's
Yeah, but
only
who knows?
13
That's
volume.
Other errata, letters, postage
Maybe.
stamps. I think she was probably collecting Destiny's trash the whole time.
Like, which one of them are? Some of them may have went out of print, and she couldn't get it. But here's my question about that though: is like, did Destiny write the true thing? Did she foresee that her diaries would be used by Moira? So did she wrote the real things in them? Like,
Well-
and here's the thing: if she's been reading all of these diaries all this time, then she must have known House of M will happen. She must have known all the other things that between like all of this. So she decided not to intervene.
No, but the thing with the diary is that it is not written in words only. It is also drawn. It is also scribbled. It is also in foreign language. The way the way Destiny saw it. So it's not going to be like so simple as that. 5 years later this happens.
Okay.
So it's going to
That
be
makes
like
sense.
it's going to be like, maybe a Roman letter 5 and then a picture of something, and then you have to figure out what that picture means.
Like
And then
reading
you
a
have to
Jonathan
figure
Hickman
out-
comic. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So that's the I think that was how actually Claremont defined it when he first introduced Destiny's Diaries.
The Destiny's Diary.
Well, let's add some more wrinkles. Over top of this scene, there's a voiceover that is ostensibly Destiny's voiceover to Mystique that she remembers that probably hasn't been committed to the diaries for reasons, which is when those days come, remember these words, bring me back. And if you cannot, if they will not, then burn that place to the ground. And it's kind of like, is that out of self-interest? Like if they're so stubborn, burn it to the ground? Is it because Destiny knows that she's necessary? Is it because she knows that their refusal to bring her back indicates all of this other interventionist stuff? Like you don't know. You don't know.
Yeah.
So the thing I want to throw in as a wrinkle, and I think we can just keep reacting to this because it's fun. Also Inferno, but we'll,
Yes.
is this idea of the Fates, right? The Fates are usually a trio of women, as we know from Sandman and many, many other things. And Destiny is very much being positioned as one of the Fates here. I would argue that in her way, Mora is also one of the Fates. And it connects to that thing that we were saying before about like her past is their future because she's seen so far ahead in the timeline, in the fixed timeline of a certain life, is that she too has future knowledge. And she too, in her way, is being blinded by kind of being kept in this place. And the trio of these Fates typically is the crone or the old woman, the mother, which she absolutely is, especially because she's the mother of this whole idea of X-Men, because she gave Xavier the brainwave, and the mother of Proteus, who's creating the resurrections, and then also the maiden or the young woman, which could be blindfold. No, who do you think it is?
It's Emma.
Because
Emma
based on the
Frost.
Inferno art, you think it's Emma? I think that's possible.
It's based on based on the three women, women you were talking about, because the one of them is supposed to be seductress, like who seduces. Like there's because the whole point is that women can be put in three categories. That's the whole thing. Like it's like you are the seductress, you are the mother, or you are the old woman, the wise old woman. So we have the mother and the crone like down, like and so the last one is Emma.
Oh, you think it's Emma? Interesting.
Like
I don't disagree. I'm just like,
yeah,
here's a
that's
turning.
because she's the other one who is like, what is going on over here? What's going on? And then this is also a three opposite of Magneto, Xavier, and Apocalypse.
Yes.
It's like,
ooh, I
so
like
there's
that.
One of them's even blue.
Yeah, one of them is exactly. So that's what I was like. Ooh.
And Emma is prominent in the Inferno tease here.
Yes.
If you look at the letters N and O, that is Emma.
Like Emma's the other person who is doing the most. Like she's causing the most things to happen. It's like you should have a gala. Hey,
but then here's the other half of this whole. If we take as whether it's thematic or whether it's going to be made super literal that there is this trio of fates and that Mora canonically is one of them. Is there any difference really between Mora and Destiny? They're kind of the same.
Mm-mm.
No,
that's the thing. No, there isn't, and that's why they like hate.
Oh,
like
right. Yeah, it's like
get your own shtick. This is mine.
No, but I think the difference is that Destiny sees the variant paths, and Moira lived them.
Well, I mean, there's a difference in their experience.
Yeah.
But like they both, I mean, ultimately, why would they not want to work together if Mora's real goal is to make mutants live perpetually? Like, wouldn't Destiny actually be the first person she would want to resurrect?
That's
like Destiny only hates Mora when Mora wants to cure mutants.
No, and that's the reason. And that's the reason why Moira does not want to bring Destiny back.
Because we don't know her real goals.
Intent.
Yeah, we don't know her real goal. And we don't know. And the fact is also that it's not just Destiny. It's like no precogs.
Ever.
Right.
Yeah.
When you would think that the precogs, I mean, I think we get so obsessed with the bring Destiny back that we miss the larger picture sometimes. Not just the four of us, but everybody. Which is like
blindfold.
Yeah, not only is Morris saying that, and Charles and Eric are going along with it. Why? Wouldn't one of the three of them want some precog? Even preogs have to be segregated, or preogs have to stay in the no place with Mora. Preogs are treated like handmaidens, and they have to belong to somebody who could, like, who knows? But like, why? I'm just saying, there's many other ways to play the no precogs beat. There's a specific reason that the three of them have agreed that they're not allowed.
Mm-hmm. Well, I feel like it's not that the three of them agree. It's just Moira forcing their hand. It's like, no, you are not.
These guys are clearly bad at this. They should listen to their mom. I mean, my whole read with this whole scene is like between like the trial of Magneto coming up and Inferno. Like, I don't think it's going to be something as basic as like Krakoa is going to fall or burn. I do think Professor X, Magneto are both headed for a bad way. Like this issue, they were kind of fairly irredeemable in my eyes. So like, I do feel like if not the whole status quo is going to fall, I do think these two are going
there is a lot of things that Way of X also mentioned, right? In issue 1, didn't they say, not issue 1, I think in issue 2, they did say something, Spiro basically said that, all these rules are put in place just to make you feel like there are rules, but there really isn't any rules that.
No, there isn't. Because this is where they break laws. They're like,
they're breaking their own laws, basically.
Yeah, breaking their own laws and everything. And this is, I think, like Tyler mentioned it, Tyler mentioned it is like, well, X of Sword was get rid of Apocalypse. Trial of Magneto will be get rid of Magneto, and then the next
Inferno.
one, and then we have our three ladies.
And this brings us to the last page, right? The teaser Inferno. And if you look at the code, one corner of the code shows the Krakoan Council. And I think the top left-hand corner shows the Krakoan Council. So, and it shows that Apocalypse is gone with the axe, and Jean is gone in the summer with the axe. So I feel like, the Krakoan, the council is going to come into play in a major way, like maybe an upheaval in Inferno here.
So do we think Inferno is going to be a crossover, a book?
I think it's Hickman's new book.
It's Hickman's new book.
No,
Tara and
I
I've
think,
talked about
okay,
it.
I think Hickman's new book, right, is embedded in the code under the Inferno, like the IN below it. There's a 00X and 0000M, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think you are meant to think that it is Xavier and Magneto. But remember what X is in Roman. It's 10.
10.
And what is M? Is
Oh,
1,000.
1,000. So
Yeah,
Powers
so
of
this
X
is
is coming
Power
back.
of X.
Yes.
So I think is either Hickman writing a Moira book or another Power of X series.
Oh, because 10M could be Moira 10.
Yeah, it could be that too.
That's what I was
Also,
thinking,
let's
so.
not lose that under the Krakoan version of the word Inferno, it says the Books of Destiny. I mean,
Destiny.
yeah.
Yes, book, like
Well-
that is the one that I was like, ooh,
And
tell
who's
me
the
more
baby?
about this.
The
That's,
baby is Moira's
yeah,
resurrection.
it's from
image of
House of
her
X
ninth
too.
rebirth.
That's
Oh.
it. And the
What-
thing is, like, also because prior to this, I also read the original Inferno series. I'm like, oh, this has got nothing to do with this. This got
Wait,
nothing to do
you
with-
read the original Inferno?
You read Inferno?
No, I did the summary, you guys.
Oh, okay. Because I'm reading right now.
Don't give me that much credit.
I was
Oh.
like, what?
Well, because the whole plot of Cable with the babies, like everybody thinks, oh, young Cable's going to go away. Like it's literally the setup to Inferno, and Strife is yet another clone. Like I think there's maybe some things moving that we as fans are not even completely aware of. We've got Charles and Xavier here. We have Onslaught just being revealed in Way of X. I think to close this here, there's big things afoot, and I think it would be a mistake to think that any one of these books is kind of just on its own path. I think it's going to be a good thing to break Hickman out of this X-Men book and let him start to write some of the results of this, because this has been very Dungeon Master's Guide. I'm ready for him to write an adventure.
And that's what I think he's going to
Please.
do. That's
Please
the
do
plan.
something fun.
That's the
Well,
plan.
I mean, do something that maybe all of us would either like or hate.
Well, he's already doing
I
that.
wanna-
All right,
This is more
folks.
fun.
That's the end of our discussion of X-Men number 20. If you enjoyed this discussion, bless you. We're here every week talking about all of the X-Men comics, and we're here talking about other X-Men comics even this week too. So just look elsewhere on the channel. And the whole reason we do this, which every week gets proven to us through our discussion, is why Fariha.
X-Men is better when it's read together. Never
That-
have I ever been this happy to announce that, because it has been proven true today.
It's
Oh,
great,
yeah.
great discussion.
Yeah.
Well, on the behalf of myself, Fariha, who it must be noted was right all along,
She was right.
Harry, and Tyler, I want to thank you for listening and watching to this episode of This Week in X from Crushing Comics. Please like and subscribe, do all those YouTube things. It helps us know that we should continue with this and keep spouting out more and trying to be right again for the future. And until we get another opportunity to do that, much like Destiny, we want to say we hope and hopefully know that you are well.